Etiquette is something we have to restructure or reintroduce to people.
There is an angle of etiquette in all aspects of our lives. At work, at home, business, social, school, play. Etiquette as it relates to family, friends, and foe. There's just no getting around it. Etiquette is in every aspect of our lives. I'm Sabrina Samuels, and welcome to my show, Modern Day Etiquette.
Hello everyone, I'm Sabrina Samuels, and welcome to the Sabrina Samuels Show. On this edition, we'll talk about topics you want to talk about. Someone sent me an email and they sent me an article about spanking a child, whether a person should spank or not spank their child. There were many opinions on the subject. Now, I will be honest with you. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what I think you need to do in terms of if you should spank your child or not. But let me just share with you what happened to me when I was a child. I got my butt whipped. Ooh, did I get my behind tore up? And I did, and how do I feel about it? Well, I don't think it psychologically ruined me. I don't think it put scars on me. I actually, ladies and gentlemen, think it helped me out. Because I was one of those kids. I wasn't a bad kid, but I was mischievous, you might say. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I wasn't a perfect kid. I'm not a perfect adult. And I tell you what, let me just share the experience with you. I would do things and, I would stand up to adults when I was a kid. And I needed to be put in check. And I'm glad my mom did that for me. She didn't beat us profusely, but she did take care of business. My grandmother, oh my goodness, she would make us all go out and pick a switch. When we all did bad, and when we were all grandchildren, we'd stayed at Big Mama's house. And if we did something bad, Big Mama would make us all go pull a switch off the tree. And whatever switch we pull off the tree, she said that's what she would whip us with. And of course, all of us went out and got the smallest little switch we could find. But see, we didn't know Big Mama already had that switch in the house. But she would see which switch you would pull off the tree. And I was always smart. I never pulled the smallest switch off the tree, but I never pulled the biggest switch. None of us ever pulled the biggest switch, of course, off the tree. But everybody got whipped by Big Mama's switch except me. And I would make sure I would bend that switch back and forth a little bit, make sure that it was flimsy enough where it wouldn't hurt that much. But we needed our behinds whipped. Now, that was back in the day when, I won't call it abuse, but I believe that parents and grandparents understood the importance of that old sayings that I know you don't want to hear, spare the rod and spoil the child. I needed a good butt whipping from time to time. I'll never forget once when we lived, after my mother and father got a divorce, we lived in the projects. And it was a very hard time for my mom because she was just getting over a divorce and moving out of her home, having to now be on public assistance for a while, moving into the projects. It just lowered her self-esteem. But when we went to the projects, I didn't look at it as a bad experience because as a child, I always found the good for some reason in every situation. So we lived there, and one day I decided I was going to go to this party. Now, I won't tell you the punchline quite yet. I wanted to go to this little party, and it was like a neighborhood party. One of the kids was having a party, and back in the day, and even now when a kid has a party, the grown-ups have their own little party going on too. So I'm putting my little bed together. We had, I think it was a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment in the projects, and it was an upstairs and a downstairs. And I made my bed up, and I told my sister, because I shared a room with her, I said, don't tell Mama I'm going to this party. And she said, well, how are you going to get out of here? I said, I'm going to jump out the window. So I put my pillow, we had 2 little pillows. So I put the pillow and propped some old clothes or some of the clothes we had in the closet. I propped them in the bed, made it look like I was in the bed, right? I jump out the window and I go to this party. And a few hours later, I I was a very limber kid, and I was a tomboy at that, believe it or not. I was a tomboy. Yes, I was. And could kick some butt. But anyway, that's another story. I jumped back on the window ledge, then I jumped on the awning. It was like one of those little steel awnings, and I tapped on the window to let my sister know I was coming back in, and I left the window cracked so I can get in. So ladies and gentlemen, I got inside the house, and I told my sister, I'm home. She didn't say anything. She just kept the cover halfway up her, face. So, back in the day, you don't think about something is wrong. She's not saying something. She's covered up. But I just thought everything was cool. So I went over and took my clothes off, put my pajamas on, and I pulled the covers back, and my mama was laying in that bed. She jumped out of that bed with that strap. It was a strap. My eyeballs got that big. I said, oh, mama. And I was trying to explain to her what I did. But she just thought I was a bad, fast little girl, right? So she tore it up. She tore that bootay up. She gave me a whipping. As you can see, I remember vividly until this day. Now, I was mad at my sister, number one, because she didn't warn me. But what could she do? I mean, she hadn't broken the rules. I broke the rules, and I needed to be punished for that. A few weeks passed, and, things went on as usual. And one day I came home from school, and my mother was upstairs in her room crying because her lifestyle had changed. Things had changed for her, and she was working a part-time or full-time job. I couldn't remember at the time. But she had to make adjustments, and it was very difficult in the beginning. And I went in her room and I said, Mama, what's wrong? And she, of course, get out of here, get out of here. And I didn't get out. And I sat on the bed next to her, and, sometimes parents tend to want to be tough, and instead of just giving love to their children when they're in a vulnerable state. She just told me to get away, and she pushed me away, and I just kind of put my arms around her, and I said, Mama, what's wrong? She says, I don't know how we're going to make these ends meet and get this food, and it's just a lot of things on me, Sabrina. Get out of here. So I looked at her, and I left the room. And I came back in the room just a few seconds later with an envelope. And I said, Mama, here. She said, what is that? What is that? I said, here, Mama, just take this. And my mother took it, and she opened it up, and she says, where did you get this money? Where did you get this money? I said, Mama, remember a few weeks ago when you whipped me and I jumped out the window and went to that party? She kind of dropped her head, yes. I said, well, Mama, there was a birthday party, and I knew all the adults would be there, and I knew there was a neighborhood house that kept the lawnmower for the grass. So I took my pad and pencil, and I went and let people know that I was cutting grass. I was in business to cut grass. Now, remind you, I was only 10 or 11 years old, if that much. My mother looked up at me. She said, what? I said, yeah, I have a lawnmower business, Mom. I cut the grass in the neighborhood. And I stuck my chest out. I was proud of that. And she said, you cut the grass? I said, yeah, Mom, that's why sometimes I'm late when I get home, because I'm cutting grass. And look at the people. And I pulled out the list of people. And she said, you saved, and it might have been $20, $30, but back in the day, that was a lot of money. And for 2 weeks, that was, well, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, that was considered pretty good. My mama looked at me, and she looked at the money, and she started really crying, but I could tell those were tears of joy. And I say, see, Mama, you whipped me, but I wasn't doing anything bad. I wasn't being a bad girl. I was starting my business. And you know what my mother told me? That was over 40 years ago. She said, you know what, Sabrina, you're going to be somebody one day. I'm proud of you. She said, thank you. I don't want to take your money. I said, Mama, that's our money. You're so good to us, Mama. You're so good to us. And sometimes I get emotional when I think about it. But I got my behind whipped because I did disrespect my mom by not telling her the truth. But at the same time, I did something good too. So good came out of it. Did I need my behind whoop when I was a little girl? Yeah. But as I got older and became a teenager, my mom, she was dying of cancer around that time. She took out her emotions, her frustration, her anger. And sometimes if we didn't do the right thing, she wanted to whip us. And one day, I came home and I was an NFL debater, and I didn't tell my mom I would be at another student's home studying. And I know my mother was just very sad and frustrated with what she was going through, just a lot of things going on, and we moved south at that time. We had, a home, and my mother had remarried, but she went and got the belt. She says, I told you to be home at a certain time. And when she got that belt and came in there and told me to get on my knees at that time because I was so tall, I took the belt, I gripped the belt as she got ready to hit me. I said, no more. I'm too old to get whipped. Now you talk to me. We were friends until my mother passed away. She supported me in everything. But she learned a valuable lesson, and I learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes we must communicate. Now, when you're a little baby, of course, you don't have that kind of intellect. But parents, you have to use wisdom if you decide you want to chastise your child. To chastise a child, to spank a child, you have to think twice. Now, I have grandchildren now. We have grandchildren, and aren't they lovely? Absolutely beautiful girls. I'm a grandparent now. We're grandparents, and for me, spanking or whipping is just not what I like to do. I prefer talking. I prefer timeout. I prefer disciplining in other ways, as well as listening. We need to do more of that. I pray and I ask God to give me divine order, because being a grandparent nowadays is so different. Kids are very different nowadays. So I ask for divine order whenever I'm doing anything, and I ask for forgiveness, because I'm just not a perfect person. I don't know, maybe you are, but I'm not. So with that said, to spank or not to spank, that is the question. You have to really be prayerful about it. You have to do whatever you think is best. But if you do decide you want to spank your child, understand when to draw the line between really hurting a child and really spanking them where they get the point and it doesn't abuse them in any way. I hope that answered your question. And as you know, at the end of each show, I'd like to offer you some wonderful goodies that I have. The Forgotten Art of Table Etiquette and Protocol. Now, good etiquette is eating at the dinner table. Good etiquette is just what we discussed. Good etiquette is everyday living, everyday life. But if you are interested in learning some wonderful protocols about dining, whether it's at home, five-star dining in your dining room with guests or yourself, whether it's buffet-style dining, if you have a group of people coming over, whether it's dining outside, whether it's a large or small party, maybe out by the pool or the backyard, this will help you. Excellent information. Please go on my website and check it out. Also, expect the best and get it. Oh, this is a wonderful CD. It'll give you some wonderful information about visualization, praying, knowing that you can achieve. It's wonderful. It comes with this workbook right here, and I still use my workbook. Let me show you. It's right here in my meditation chair that I sit in every day. You see that it's all beat up and kind of old. I've changed it up a little bit, but I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, this little book, workbook, has helped me. I just want you to see how old it is inside. I write the information down, you follow the directions in here, and it really helps you by helping you to reprogram the subconscious mind. So I hope that you will go to my website, beckmanetiquette.com. It's right there on the screen, and see what we have to offer. Also, see the wonderful classes that we have to offer. We have a wonderful website. You'll see testimonials, ladies and gentlemen. You don't have to take my word for it. Just listen to what the parents and the people are saying about what I do. I come out to do workshops and seminars. I'd love to do a workshop or seminar for you and with you. So until we meet again, I'm Sabrina Samuels. I thank you so much for tuning in. And you can always go back to my YouTube channel and review any of my short clips. It will help you, it will revive you. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, I look at it too, and I'm not one for that. But you know, I believe our Heavenly Father is working with me to not only give me the words to say to you, but to also say to myself. So with that said, I thank you for tuning in. God bless you, and I'll see you next time. I'm Sabrina Samuels with your etiquette tip for the week. Thank you.
Modern day etiquette.